All right, so let's come back to this question, right? Part A is pretty simple, right? It asks for, okay, what happened when we running this, right? So originally we have the add at the topmost of the data flow. The source is R5 and R6, and we write that to R1, right? What is the next instruction? The next instruction, there are actually two of them, right? The to multiply, right? And because there are two multiply to eliminate the ambiguity, basically the first multiply is the one that doesn't have R1 as an input. Well, actually both of them use R1, so it's fine, right? So let's pick the R6, multiply with R1, you get R2 back. And the second multiply, right, would multiply R1 and R2 here, and then you get R4 as a result. You know that the second multiply comes after the first multiply for sure, because it has to wait for R2 as an output for the first multiply. All right, sorry about that confusion earlier. The second multiply definitely have to happen after the first multiply, because there's a data dependency on R2, right? Then you have the add instruction, right, which add R4 and R4 together, right? Wait, no, R2 and R5, sorry. Trying to read the text, it's too small. R2 and then R5, and you get R4 as a result, which go into the multiply, right? And you multiply R4 and R4 together, write the result back into R4, right? So basically, that's the answer to the first part of the question. Now, we have the assembly here, right? Add R1, R5, R6. So let's do the first one, right? We have the add instruction. Originally, right? So this is originally what happened. Everything is valid, right? And we don't care about the tag because everything is valid. So the tag is like R0, R1, R2, R3, and R4. The value of the RIT for each one of them, as we said earlier during the break, is that let's assume R0 holds 0, R1 holds 1, blah, 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 so on and so forth, right? So the first add, what we want to add is we want to add just want to make sure we have the right number. We want to add R5 and R6 together, right? So the tag here, right? Oops, sorry. Going too far. The tag, you have R5 and R6 here, right? What are the value? 5 and 6. Are they ready? Yes. Right. So that's the first cycle you fetch for instruction 1, right? Then you decode instruction 1, which means that now you know it's an add. You can then fetch instruction 2. What is instruction 2? Instruction 2 is multiply R6 and R1 into R2. You have sorry, one more thing. The first instruction modify R1, so this becomes invalid. Not valid, the tag is A. If you want R1, you go to A, right? The second instruction, let me go back again. Sorry about going back and forth, right? R6 multiply with R1. So what is R6? R6 is 6, R1 is tag A, right? So over here you have R6 as an input, value is 6, it's valid. But over here it's not valid because you need tag A. I don't know the value yet, right? So that's the second fetch here. Now you can execute, you can decode, right? And then you can fetch the third instruction. The third instruction is again multiply. You want to multiply R2 and R1 together. And again, I'm sorry. The second operation also modify R2. So R2 over here has to be edited into invalid, right? And now the tag is X because the tag X will generate the result into R2. The second multiply wants R1 and R2. R1 is A, R2 is X. right? So over here, tag is A. I don't know the value, not valid. This is X. I don't know the value as well. So that's the second multiply. It writes the result into R4. So now my R4 is not valid anymore. And Y would be the person who's responsible for updating my value. Sorry, I want to make sure this looks like a letter Y, right? This one execute as well. Adder take 3 cycles, multiply take 4, right? So this execute, this is decode, and I can fetch the fourth instruction that comes in is an add. I want R2 and R5. R2 is X, R5 is 5. So you want to add R2, right, over here, but R2 is X. So you take the letter X is not valid. I don't know the value. This one is R5, I think. R5 is valid. So you can have tag R5, the value of 5. I can execute here, execute here, execute here, decode here, fetch here, right? For the last instruction, I want to do, it has it all to do with R4, right? And again, R4 is modified here. Y is not the one producing R4 anymore, is B, right? Now, for the last instruction, I want to add R4, which is B, with R4, which is B again, not valid, both of them, right? So that's what happened. The next thing is I did make some mistakes, right? Because I eagerly write execute, but the problem is instruction 2 is still waiting for, so let me change the color. Right here. It's still waiting for A, right? So I cannot execute them yet. Instruction 3 is also waiting, right? For X. Instruction 3 is the multiply, is waiting for R2, which is X, so it cannot execute as well, right? Instruction 4 and 5 is not even finishing the decoding yet. So what happened at cycle 6? Cycle 6, I perform a write back here. When I do the write back, right? I finish what? I finish A. I finish A. It basically go to the common database and say, hey, who needs A? Who needs A? And replace A with 5 plus 6. So that becomes 11, right? That becomes 11. So I can remove this. This tag become valid. This is 11, right? Sorry, tag stays the same as A. Over here, I said I need A, right? So I can put in 11 right here. And the valid. So you can start to execute the second instruction, right? And then you can decode here, right? And then you can execute. And at cycle 9, nothing still happened. So what you will see, right? What you will see is that the value, right? The value, which is one. Oh, okay. I missed one place here. Again, valid, right? This is A and this is 11. So that's what happened at cycle number 9. At cycle number 10, right? At cycle number 10, what happened? Instruction 2 finish. Instruction 2 generate X, right? So it basically say, hey, who needs X? Over here, it's like X is available. So you can keep doing this, right? You basically can keep doing this and show the same thing here and show the same thing here. If you work on this, right? If you work on this, you'll notice that everything will finish right back right here. If I remember correctly, cycle 17. And for the reservation station, register everything table, those things are pretty clear. Basically everything becomes valid has all the value correctly. Any questions? Oh, you ended at 18. Maybe I'm wrong, actually. I need to double check. How about I double check that, and I will give everyone the solution to the midterm I want to make sure you go through the question first. So I'll post the midterm answer next week. Is that okay? So that you have 1 week to kind of like read the solution as well from your understanding of the questions and from your own exercise. All right, awesome. So that's it for today's class. Any other questions on this? So I look at my solution on this screen. I think the reason why you got 18 is basically instruction 5. When did your instruction 5 execute begins? Okay, so I think that's a problem. So it can begin at 13 because instruction 5 depends on instruction 4. Instruction 4 begins at 10. So 10, 11, 12 is for instruction 4. Then you can do data forwarding because you're done with the execute. So in cycle 13, you can start instruction 5 right away. If you start at 14, it's likely that you're waiting for instruction 3, but instruction 5 is not dependent on 3. So if you look at this, if I want to basically fill everything in here, right? You fetch, decode, execute, 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 right back. Fetch, decode, and you execute here, right? For 4 cycle. Let me double check. Yeah, 4 cycle. Fetch, decode, fetch, decode, fetch, decode, right? Then at cycle 10, the thing is at cycle 10, R2 becomes available for both instructions. So both instructions can begin because you have one adder and one multiplier. So you can execute both of them here. And you write back here, right? And at 13, right? In 13, if you look at instruction 5 only requires B, which is this guy. So it's done earlier, right? So basically now you can execute here and be done at 17. Yeah. So that's it for this particular question. Then for the rest of the here, after you're done, everything becomes valid again, right? The tag kind of remains like the X, Y, and Z, A, B, C. The value is the updated one. The adder and multiplier would now, again, all the tags become valid, right? All the tags will become valid and should have all the corresponding value. So that's it for this question, actually. So we expect to see something similar on your exam. This is a good exercise so that you can see a clear picture on how everything play in together, actually. I will stop the recording and I'll leave maybe 10 minutes for like all the project proposal questions and every other question related to the class. All right.